Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Matchbook Horse Racing Podcast. It's our day two preview. Declan Rix has already made me laugh, and we haven't even started yet. Rix is with us. Micheál Deasy is with us. Matt Toombs is back with us as well. We are getting stuck into day two of the Cheltenham Festival. 7 races. Enjoy it while you can. There'll be 6 races a day soon. I said that only for Matt's face. If you're liking our content on YouTube, give this video a thumbs up and subscribe for free. If you're listening on the podcast, give us a 5-star review or as many stars as you like, preferably 5, at least 4, and follow on your preferred podcast app. But in all seriousness, if you like it, a 5-star review really helps us. And that in turn helps you when you're listening along. Our sign-up offer, let me remind you about that. It's the £20 welcome offer, money back as cash if your first bet loses. It's for new customers only. You've got to use the bonus code Insights RF. That's Romeo Foxtrot RF. And place your first bet. If it loses, you get your stake back as cash. Full terms and conditions are on the Matchbook website. Right, let's get stuck into the first race on the Wednesday. 2 mile 5 for the Ballymore. Sir Gerhard is bang at the top of the betting, is a 1.7 shot. We've got Journey with Me at 7.5. Stage Star is 8.0. 3 Stripe Life 8.0. And that's as far down as I'm going. Right. Team Sir Gerhard, first of all. Myself, Matt, and DC have put Sir Gerhard. You can have a bet as Rixie is in the without market. Matt, do you actually make him a bet at that sort of price, Sir Gerhard, or how are you approaching it from a betting point of view?
Yeah, I think he is, providing it doesn't turn into a swamp. And they go steadily in this, turns into a test of speed at the trip. It's forgiving of novice jumping. It suits horses that settles and have a turn of foot. So it looks absolutely ideal for him. And he's up against mainly a bunch of embryonic 3-milers like Stage Star and Journey with Me here. So for those who like smashing odds on shots, I think he's one to back. I'd also be looking at the betting without market at 3 Stripe Life. The horse that finishes second to the Gun Novice is often underestimated. Back Mighty Potter in the Supremes, form ties in with him as well. And he looks a quicker horse than Stage Star and Journey with Me. Now, he didn't take the occasion when 4th in the bumper last year. He might not be suited by a greater emphasis on stamina if there's a lot of rain. So he's one to wait until you see the ground, how he's taken the preliminaries. But if the ground's still decent and he's relaxed at the start, he might be a late play in the without Sir Gerhard market. But I think the favourite's going to win, and probably pretty easily.
Don't need me to add to why I think Sir Gerhard's going to win, but I do. DC?
Yeah, Matt said it all there. I didn't even look at the rest of them. Sir Gerhard wins this.
Bosh. You have looked at the rest of them, Rixie, which is good. Who do you want to make a case for?
I'm going to make a case for Stage Star without the fab. I just think it's interesting that Jamie Codd, when he spoke on the AfterRaces.com Cheltenham preview night, is worried about Sir Gerhard staying. Physically, he looks kind of like a strong 2-miling type, and Jamie said he has plenty of pace. So I just thought that was interesting. That I think he's the most likely winner. I think he's the right price because his form is priced. Probably got about £5 or £6 in hand over these. But I wanted to take him out of the equation, maybe get something at a slightly bigger price. And I just came down on Stage Star ahead of 3 Stripe Life just because he's got kind of form over this trip. Look, I know shallow hurdle winners don't have a great record in this race, but I really like this horse. He kept on getting better with every run this season so far. I think he's got a little bit more pace than Matt has given him credit for. He does travel strongly, and I was impressed with how he quick and going to 2 out in the shallow. Don't get me wrong, this is a much stronger race, but I like him, and we shouldn't forget he's out of Sparky May, who once upon a time finished second to Quevega in a mare's hurdle, so he's got the pedigree for Cheltenham as well.
That's your thoughts on Stage Star in the without market. Don't forget, all of the odds on markets on Matchbook will have a without market for you to take advantage of. We kick on to the 210, which is the Brown Advisory, registered as the Broadway, and it's been called a lot of other things in the past. 3 miles, half a furlong. Brave Man's Game is the horse that heads the betting. Is 3.0, 4.5 Long Presse, 6.5 Ahoy Senor. That's as far down as I'm going to go. We had a good debate about this on our Antipost preview, and now we know what's rocking up. I wonder if anyone's changed their minds. Matt, you haven't.
No, definitely not. Although Brave Man's Game beat Ahoy Senor comfortably in the Quarto Star, this is almost the opposite test, rewarding gallopers. Quarto Star form invariably gets turned round. Now, Ahoy Senor is a bit novice still when he's not on a good stride, shifts a little to the right to correct himself. but he jumped straight at the business end. And the two concerns I have are, firstly, whether he gets into a rhythm in the first mile, which he didn't do at Kempton. And secondly, the downhill fence, especially 3 out. He is inclined to nod on landing. He's been running on flat tracks. But assuming that doesn't catch him out, I think that given a suitable test of galloping, I'm going to be bold and say I'm pretty confident that Hoisinor is just a better horse than Brave Man's Game, who I'm not sure is going to find much at the business end of a proper stamina test. So for me, it's all about whether Hoisinor gets into a rhythm. If he does, I think he'll gallop them into the ground, with Capodanno the one I fancy to take advantage if Hoisinor fluffs his lines. And if the rain comes to make it more of a stamina test, it just makes me more optimistic.
I love that statement about the quality of Brave Man's Game in comparison to Hoisinor. None of us are with the favourite. Rixie, you want to play in the without market again?
Yeah, I'm going to go in the without market. Look, I think Brave Man's Game is the most likely winner, but Lahom Press coming in there is just, it's enough to kind of to sway me away from him. In saying that, on my ratings, I have Beacon Edge £2 rated higher than Hoisinor. So my pick is just basically a value selection. I think the race will be run to Beacon Edge. He's a hold-up horse. Looks to be a little bit of pace on here. We shouldn't forget he was 4th to Flooring Porter last year in the Stairs Hurl, so he's got Cheltenham Festival form. His prep coming here only 22 days ago, it's not ideal, but he had a similar kind of prep last year, ran close enough to the festival and still ran very well at Cheltenham. So just, I think that in the most overpriced horse in the race, probably in the outright market as well, is Beacon Edge, but he's not really a horse you fancy to win, but I think he'll be better on this better ground. His jumping has been getting better, so, and I think the race sets up nicely for him. He just looks the most overpriced horse for me. So Beacon Edge without Brave Man's Game for me.
Beacon Edge without Brave Man's Game. DC.
Yeah, I'm on the horse that beat Beacon Edge last day. Farouk Delane, I'm after kind of changed my mind very recently on this. I was very much Brave Man's Game, but I saw the price of Farouk Delane, and I just thought I have to back I tipped him up a good while ago, and the anti-post ones I was doing a match in January. He is a horse that kind of came onto my radar last year when he beat Vanillier at Christmas. That was when Vanillier came onto my radar as well. But he's a long break. He's 4 runs this year, 2 wins, 2 seconds. I think this kind of test and this kind of trip is going to be perfect for him. Davy Russell is also taking the ride as well out of the 3 Giggy horses. He's after picking for out the lane. He's 20.0. I think I'd probably be a small win, but I'll do maybe 75% of the stake on the place for the 4 places. I think he's probably a better class horse than he's shown so far this year, and I can see him running a big race.
I wanted to take on Brave Man's Game, was just going to lay him, but I don't know, 3.0. But I think I'm happy to have L'Impresse, Hoisinor, Capodanno, the likes of those running for me against him. So maybe I will just lay him on the day, depending on what price he gets to. But I think L'Impresse it could be closer to him in the betting. I'm glad they're having a go at this. And the way he went round Cheltenham in the Dipper, I mean, he wasn't stopping at the finish. I think he's better going this way round as well, even though he won a Grade 1 going right-handed. So I'm excited to see him going back round this way. I also thought Gaillard de Menil will appreciate stepping up in trip. He's 17.0. I'll probably have a go at him in the place market, but L'Impresse mainly for me. Although I might change around how exactly I do play the race, depending on what price Brave Man's Game is. We're all done there, aren't we? Should we kick on? Let's go to the Coral Cup. Nice, easy race to solve this one. I'm not going to read out any prices until we get to the horses. Rixie, I'll come straight back to you, bud.
Yeah, look, Coral Cup, absolutely mental race. We spoke about McFabulous earlier on in one of the earlier podcasts we do, so I don't need to go over him again. But yeah, I like one in here at a big price, probably more as a place bet and maybe some of the extra markets, maybe 5 or 6 places. But Dans Levant has been in really good form this year for Evan Williams and Isabel Williams. Isabel's has got on really well with him. She gave him a fantastic ride to win at Haydock on the Betfair Chase card there earlier in the season. And since then, he's held his form really well. He ran behind Stormy Ireland. He then ran in the Lanzarote, and he ran very well at Sandown last time at Green Book. The problem is with this horse is he's a proper hold-up horse. So he needs a bit of luck in terms of pace for the race to set up nicely for him. That's why he's probably a place-only bet. But I would say he looks to thrive in big fields. But I think he loved the hustle and bustle of a Coral Cup, and I just think he's overpriced. I could easily see him hitting the frame at a big price. So, Don's Lavant for me, and he liked the better ground as well.
34.0 he is. McFabulous, who you put up on the handicap preview, is 21.0 and a fair price. I think I can definitely see the case for him. Extra places, Dees, you can give your selection and mention the extra places.
Yeah, we're going to have up to 6 places, possibly 7 on this tomorrow. So nice bit of place for there. If you look, I dropped the anchor for this before the festival when I saw it was his only entry, and I'm going to stick with him. He looks like he's been laid out for this race since last year, and I know he's not great value in this, but I could see him running an absolutely massive race, and he again he will be a win place price if you want to do him in the top 3 or 4. Like, you're still going to be getting about even money that he hits the top 3, top 4. So I'm going to stick with him.
11.0. Matt, you made a good case for Saint Félicien in our handicap preview. He's around about 11.0. Any change?
No, just more confident because of the price. That sounds quite counterintuitive, the fact that he's not shortened, but I think he's going to. And I think Gordon Elliott could have an amazing week in the handicaps. He won 4 in 2018, 2020. I wouldn't be surprised if he did even better this week. And Saint Félicien had a huge reputation when coming over from France, talked about as a champion hurdle horse. Gordon prepped him in a conditions race, as he did with his other 2 winners, Carlito Brigante and Diamond King. He had the ideal opponent there, Dorasso, rock solid, consistent, 150 horse on a sound surface, who he followed home quietly. And he's in here off 149, just £2 higher than his Irish mark. And I think that's really lenient. 83% of the Irish hurdlers will raise more than he was. And normally it's the older exposed horses that don't get bumped up as much, not a 5-year-old who's just had 3 starts. So I think he could be the classic Grade 1 horse in a handicap, like Super Sunday and Whisper in recent years. He's by Saint-Descents, already proved on a sound surface. You'd hope he'd handle a cut if the rain comes. And this is a pretty open market at the moment, but it wouldn't surprise me if he went off favourite.
I will follow you in there and back him. I'll also back the Shunter at 8.5 because I think he's well treated. He's rated £8 above the mark he won off last year when winning over fences, and his trainer thinks he's a better hurdler. I can just see it. I definitely want him on side. I know he's obvious. Definitely want that horse on side. And the other one at a bigger price that I want to back is Ganapathy, who he's got a tongue son for the first time. They thought this was a really good horse a few years back. He ran okay in Grade 2 company when behind the Real Deal. He's obviously not been seen for 320 days. That's not going to put me off too much, given he's a Willie Mullins horse. And they tried him in Grade 1 company when last seen. The Coral Cup last year, the County Hurdle last year, all happened a bit quickly. And he was a handicap debutant. We know they don't tend to win it. But I think now he's a 26.0 for Ganapathy, given he went off 7.0 for a county hurdle last year and he's tongue-tied. I'll chance him as well.
He broke my heart last year on the county days. I backed him a long time for that. Very sick.
That's why I'd love him. I'd love it. I'd love it if he won these. Let's move on to the Champion Chase and prices for that. Oh, I didn't get them up. That's naughty. Right, I tell you what, I'll give you the prices shortly. Okay, Energumene team, Rixin.
Yeah, look, this is some race. I'm really looking forward to it. This is just a phenomenal race. We get to see Shishkin and Energumene take each other on again. We haven't mentioned yet, there is rain due Tuesday into Wednesday, which which is interesting. I think the more rain that falls, I would be with Energumene in terms of the without market, because I'm going to play in the without Shishkin market here. I don't want to back Shishkin straight at odds on, because I don't think the old course shows him off to his best. I think this horse would be an absolute monster on the new course, bigger galloping circuit, not as such a test of speed. So if you like Shishkin, I think you'll get bigger in the run again, because I think if he's going to win ugly. But look, I do like Energumene. The track is the big question mark, but I thought it was interesting. He actually did jump a tiny bit left at some fences at Ascot last time. So, but he did jump right then at 2 out again. I just think this horse has got so much ability, he can maybe get away with that. I think Shishkin and Energumene, their peak form, I think they're comfortably better horses than Shaq and Poursois. I don't want to back Shaq and Poursois at odds on. You take him out of the equation with Energumene and back him at odds against. I think that's a really good bet. I was interested in maybe putting up Nubra Negra with it, but there was just no value in his price. So I've gone with to the head of the market. In this market, in my opinion, Energumene should comfortably be odds on.
Okay, in the without market, and scrap the without market, just straight up, Toomsy.
Yeah, it's the highlight of the whole week, isn't it? I can't wait. And I love Shishkin. He's a brilliant horse, but 7 of the 10 odds-on shots this century have been beaten. And I think he is taking on 2 top notches rather than 1. When he was 12.0, I put Shaq and Poursois up anti-post when we previewed this a month or so back. But he's much shorter now, and the value at this stage, I think, is definitely with Energumene. And that's because I think a couple of the preconceptions before the Clarence House could well be wrong, particularly about trip. Consensus was a greater emphasis on stamina would favour Energumene, 231 yards shorter here. Shishkin ran in the Supreme Monarchal. The theory was he was the pure 2-miler. Energumene had started at 2.5. The theory was he was the stayer. But at Ascot, Energumene was all about cruising speed, and to my eye, Shishkin outstayed him. And also, I'm not sure about the ground. The consensus is that Shishkin wants a sound surf and Energumene wants cut. Not sure their novice form really supports that. There's obviously the prospect of rain anyway, so we're not quite sure what sort of surface we're going to get. And Barry Geraghty made an interesting point that the ground on the rail in the straight at Ascot tends to get chewed up. So he used to come down the middle of the track as Nico did on Shishkin. And it's possible that made the difference on the day too. So none of this is going to matter if Energumene can't handle the left-handed track. But as Rixie said, I think there's some optimism for saying he will do. And if he jumps pretty straight, then I think he's a much better chance of reversing the form than the odds suggest. So even with that risk, I'm happy to back him at this sort of price.
And if anyone watching zooms in now on Micheál Deasy's face, you can see the look of a man that is currently shitting himself because 2 Shrudies have gone against Shishkin. There he is. But you're putting him up.
I am, yeah. And I was actually I'm bringing up his form here, and the ground would be a slight worry for me. But then again, everyone is saying, God, Energumene, if it was stopped 3 yards out the last day, and you looked at this, and there was 100 yards here and all that, that's all absolute shite talk. Shishkin is an absolute super freak of a horse, and for all the lessons that Energumene would have learned the last day, so Shishkin would have learned it as well. Nico is hardly going to go and think this is going to be the exact same. He knows now that they're going to be coming at him from all angles. Now, hopefully, it's not a complete bog at that stage. There is rain forecast, and it's supposed to rain through the afternoon. But he's not a price I'd be steaming into at the moment. Although I think that he could go off, even money or more now because of the Energumene money, but with Willie Mullins, but the horses being back, I just think Shishkin could be different level. So I fancy him to win this. Yeah.
Do you think he'll get bigger in the run, Dees?
Yeah, more likely. Yeah, I don't think he'll go too big though. I mean, people are onto that as well. You're not going to be getting 4.0 or 5.0, and if you are, there's something on very bad.
Yeah,
so,
I think
he's
even more
now.
Yeah, Jesus, I think Shishkin is a absolutely top class. While the other ones are very good as well, I just think Shishkin has a lot more farm in the bag, I think, than Energumene, and I'm going to give him a chance to win this again and take his place at the top table.
That was easy. He's definitely worried. He's definitely worried. 1.8 is Shishkin. I do think I think you've hit upon something interesting. We saw it in the Clarence House. Many people are cotton onto it now. He's got to trade bigger than that, doesn't he? And Energumene may well trade shorter. We saw it overemphasized at Ascot. Anyway, let's move on.
Even in the Arca last year, sorry, quickly before we move on, even in the Arca last year in a much lesser race, he didn't travel well again. Now, Nicky's horses stable at the time was a bit in and out, and maybe that was the idea. But look, if he wins this race, I hope Nicky doesn't make the same mistake that he did with Altior. Get this horse up in trip and give him a chance next year, because he'll be Can you imagine him traveling over 2.5 miles? He'll be an absolute monster, even better than he is now.
Everybody wants to win the Ryanair. Right, I'm going to go for Envoy Allen. It's a win and place shout. I can't really get involved mentally at the top of the market because I'm overcooked. And I do think Emma Allen in the place market, hopefully 8 stand their ground. I like it. He's had his win done. And Henry de Bromhead is a master 2-mile trainer. Did manage to win a Gold Cup, but ultimately 2-mile trainer. I'm joking, Henry, if you're watching. Of course you are. Let's move on to cross country. Tiger Roll, unsurprisingly, is the horse that heads this betting. It'd be fantastic if he does go and win it, and he's still odds against as well. 2.5 for Tiger Roll. Delta Work is 7.5. Prengard is 7.5. That's as far down as I'm going. Team Tiger Roll, first of all. Matt, make the case.
Yeah, there are big doubts about the current well-being of Lux Easy's Land in particular, maybe Prengard as well. And I thought it was all set up for a fairy tale swan song for Tiger Roll. He should win if he's anywhere near his best. Vibes are increasingly that he is. Gordon's been surprisingly bullish. Yeah, if Delta Work takes to this, he could obviously give him a race, but I imagine he's being given a sighter with the future in mind. But if we got lots of rain, it would seriously inconvenience his chances. At least the cross-country track would be fresh ground, but I'd be waiting to see how much rain arrives before betting in this. If there's not much rain, then I'll go with him. But if it does, then I'll be looking to play in both the win and the place markets against him. Perhaps at something at a big price like Diesel Dallier, who's pretty consistent.
So you, just to confirm, if it gets testing, you'd be very worried.
Yeah, I probably just wouldn't back him then. But if there doesn't make much difference, there's just 3 or 4 mils, then I think at odds against he's probably a good bet.
Rixie?
Look, I'm not going to put up a bet here because a bit of a mad race, and I'll hopefully be getting a good pitch at the bar, the closest bar to the parade ring to welcome in Tiger Roll. I would just say I was at a Cheltenham preview last week that Davy Russell was there, and he was really hoping Delta Work wouldn't run here if he was riding Tiger Roll because he thinks he could spoil the party. He's supposedly schooled very well over the bank. So I've got no strong opinion of my own, but I just wanted to pass that on.
Only Michael O'Leary could ruin Tiger Roll's sponsor. I'm going with Tiger Roll. Only him. In fact, it's probably going to happen. I think Tiger Roll will win. I hadn't really considered the ground too much because I just don't think it'll get desperate. So, I think I hate Delta Work for this, but then what do I know? Tiger Roll for me, Dees.
Yeah, I hope Tiger Roll wins. He's very sharp price. I'll see end of the day how I'm thinking about it, but I think Easy's Land. It's a big price now for this, lads, and he obviously spoiled the party a few years ago, on soft ground when it was good and soft, and he won very, very easily. He wasn't right last year, and he still managed to finish second. Now I know his 2 P's next to his name this year, but moving to John Jaw, John Jaw's some man to get him right for the day. I just think there's definitely a bit of value in his price now. He's going to be about 14.0, so I would have a win bet and a good chunky place bet on him, because if he was wrong, he'd be a much bigger price. I think at the moment they'd be laying him already. I can see him maybe going off short today, and if there is support from, I'd probably go in a bit heavier. But I think he's Easy's Land now with John O'Neill Jr. on him could run a big race in this, and obviously this has been the target that's what he bought him for. So. Yeah.
Good to hear a nice confident case, unlike you. What about Shishkin? Let's move on to the Voodoo. No, we've done the Voodoo. We're going to the Grand Annual.
Where does it know?
Got so involved in my own joke that I didn't know where I was going. Right, the Grand Annual on the old course, 2 miles, penultimate race on the second day. I won't read out prices until we get to the horses. Matt, I'm really surprised. I thought you'd be. Well, you seem to have changed your tune slightly. Who are you with?
If you talk about embittered, I still like him. I just wanted to not be putting up all the same horses we discussed in the Anti-Post show and the Handicap show. I think the weather's going to be particularly important here because the ground could get chewed up by this stage if there's been plenty of rain. And the ones I like are ground dependent. If the rain stays away, I like Rixie's Gumball, who he put up in the Handicap show. First time cheap pieces, hopefully help him get a good start. But I'll give a shout out to one of the outsiders of the whole field in Capucci Mix. I think there was a consensus before last year's race that the switch to the old course, 83 yards shorter, meant you needed to front run, and they looked to go too quickly. He led for much of the way, mistake 3 out, lost momentum, and then got swallowed up in the straight and ended up 6th. I think he's a horse that hasn't really been getting 2 miles in good company for much of his career. And on the basis that horses get further as they get older, now he's 9, I'm hoping he'll see out the trip better. He should improve if he does. I'm hoping he'll be ridden a bit less aggressively. If you think Jordan Gaines for £3 claim is something for nothing, then he's £1 lower than last year. So if you get a sound surface, I think he'd have every chance of improving on last year's 6th. So it'd be a win and a place market. And given how well he travels, he may be one for a back to lay on the Matchbook Exchange. If the rain comes, then I'm not sure he'll get home. And I'll be looking through the race again, maybe looking at something like Ferrero Bamboo.
Okay, well, Ferrero Bamboo is 15.0, and I'll try and get an up-to-date price on Compute. I mean, it's going to be big. Computer Mix, it'd be 41 plus. So have a look on the Matchbook Exchange when the market fills out a little. Rixie.
Yes, we could cover this race a little last week, and I gave Editor DeGee and Gumball a mention there. Two, I was kind of just looking at the current prices for this show. I like Andy Dufresne. I was really hoping they would run him in this race last year, and he didn't even get an entry. So I hope it's not a year too late, because he's been bumped up a few pounds. I'm not convinced about his mark. It's hard to say he's well handicapped, but I just think this horse has been crying out for some pace to run at, and they are going to go shit yourself hard here from the very start. There is loads of pace on here. If you don't get into a rhythm over the first couple of fences, you're in trouble. So, he's a very good jumper. He does jump a little bit left, which I don't like, but it's a left-handed track. I just think he's finally going to get some pace to run at. And the other one, just at the prices, he's kind of drifted a bit in the betting the last while. Before Midnight's just been in good order as well. He's got course and distance form. He's had a very good season with kind of form figures of 1-1-4-2. That 4 came behind Shishkin at Kempton on ground, too soft for him. And then he ran well at Doncaster last time, behind Fumble de Cibola, showing a tremendous attitude late when he was headed. That form has since been franked in the game spirit. So yeah, those two there. But yeah, this is going to be, strap yourself in, lads. This is going to be running at a serious gallop.
Shit yourself hard. 11.0 is Andy Dufresne. 17.0 is Before Midnight. You agree, Dees?
Yeah, really like Before Midnight for this all season. Like, I just really hope it's not really, really soft ground, because he has no form to suggest that he will go as well as he can do in that. But I think he's a cracking bet for this. He'll just go to front and jump and he's a nice horse. I don't think I put anything else for this today. Yeah, sticking with Before Midnight. He's my only bet, and just hope that it's not heavy ground.
I thought Matt made a really good case for Embittered on the handicap preview, so check it out. The fact that he was right out there in the betting last year, I thought 10.0 was really fair. And I also still want to have Sky Pirate on side, even though, as Matt did point out on that preview, winners or horses that win this never win a handicap again. So maybe he won't. But there you are. Campaign with this in mind all season, £4 higher. I think he's got a good chance. It's, 15.0. Let's move on to the last race. We've got some lays coming up as well. This is the Champion Bumper. Best lays and best bets will be coming your way. Vassar Vega is the horse that heads the betting, currently 2.2. American Mike is 3.5. Redemption Day 7.0. That's as far down as I go. DC and Rixie are sitting this out. Matt, I guess we're singing from a similar hymn sheet that it's all about taking on the top horse in the vetting for the Willie Mullins reasons that you pointed out on the handicap preview when you put up your lays.
Yeah, and in particular,
not the handicap preview, the main preview. Sorry, go on.
This is
well, there probably will be a handicap bumper in the 5-day festival, I should think. Only a matter of time. If the ground stays decent, he got jarred up last season and couldn't run. So I'd just be a little bit concerned about that. I think American Mike ought to be favourite here. He had a huge reputation at Gordon's all season, gone the Sir Gerhard route of Down Royal at the end of October, and then the listed bumper at Navan just before Christmas, bolting up both times. The Navan form didn't look great at the time, but 17 length second battling Bessie was only just chinned in the Grade 2 Mares bumper at the Dublin Racing Festival. Hemlock, who's beaten 35 lengths, been close second in a pair of Navan maiden hurdles, has actually been declared for the Ballymore. Now, you're relying a lot on visuals with so little form, but to my eye, American Mike looks a really, really good horse. He won't mind too much what the ground is. But at a likely huge price, keep an eye on Seabank Bistro in the preliminaries in the early part of the race. He was green as grass on his racecourse debut at Naas. Second's won since, and if he's the type that grows up a lot from one run, He looked to have plenty of ability. He may well go well at a big price. He could be an in-running player on the Matchbook Exchange.
Interesting. I'm going to try and get a price for you. Here you go. Yeah, with 34, you probably price up on the day. One of the plenty of Mullins horses in the race. DC and I are going to say the same thing when we come to our lays, Lay Facile Vega. So let's go there now for our best lays. Mine is to Lay Facile Vega. Matt has already made a great case as to why the top ones from the Mullins yard don't often finish top, or very rarely finish top of all of his runners, let alone win this race. I know he looked stunning at Leopardstown, but I just think he's far too short for this race. The rule is just look elsewhere. So I'll be laying that horse at the current price. Interesting to see whether I've got a feeling I think he might go off a bit bigger on the day, and the money might come for American Mike. Probably depends what the yard has done. Gordon Elliott yard has done so far over the couple of days. DC?
Yeah, we're brave men laying Willie Mullins' favourite 2 days in a row, but like it's purely a price thing. He's too short. There's loads of horses in this that could be anything, and everyone goes on about Willie in the bumper, but he actually doesn't really have that amazing record with his favourites in this. So happy enough to take Facile Vega on this.
Matt, what do you want to add to what we've said?
No, just to repeat that 12 of the last 13 times Willie's had a clear first choice in the market. They haven't even done best of his horses, let alone one. So at 2.2, very happy to be laying him.
If you're watching, just to point out that anything scrolling along the bottom of your screen, there we go. So we've got 3 lays for Facile Vega, DC, Matt and myself. And what have you got, Rixie?
Yeah, I'm going to go back to the Ballymore. I'm going to lay Journey with Me there in the first 2 places. I think that's a really good bet. If you're brave, I can see him not hitting the frame. In terms of my own ratings, I've got him on 133. I've got 3 Stripes Life comfortably ahead of him. Sir Gerhard, Stage Star, even I Am Maximus. So I think he's an awful price, to be honest. He also looks a little bit raw still. And looks like a horse who might want a trip. So, while I think he's a lovely horse for the future, he's going to be a series chaser next season. I just think he's an awful price. Now, I'm more than happy to lay him at the odds that are available today.
Best bets for day 2 of the Cheltenham Festival then. Matt Toombs, first of all, who is your best bet?
Well, there's some bets you have where, even though nothing's changed, you go a bit cold on them. But Saint Felicien in the Coral Cup's the opposite. Almost every day I wake up and pretty much my first thought is just to have more on him. And at a double figure price, I think he's a cracking bet. I think he's a grade 1 horse in a handicap here.
Saint Felicien in the Coral Cup. DC?
My best bet is before midnight in the Grand Annual.
Lovely. Your best bet, Rixie?
Yeah, I probably should have gone with an Urgemine without Shishkin, but I didn't want to put up something very short. I really like Dan's Levant to run a big race at a big price in the Coral Cup, especially if it stays dry. So yeah, have a look around, have a fish around on Matchbook for the extra place markets. I can see him running a big race at a big price.
For the Williams team. And I'm going with Tiger Roll. I am happy to put up something at a short price. And mainly because I don't like anything in opposition to him. Yeah, I think he'll, I hope he goes and wins. I don't think the ground will get too bad either. Tiger Roll for me, my best bet. We're done. Rixie, pleasure. Thank you, bud.
Mucho gracias.
Have a great festival. I hope you're all right, Dees, with Shishkin. You okay?
Yeah.
Remember
you were laughing at me about Tampa a few years ago, and hopefully this is the same.
DT boy! Oh,
why? Because he won that like a good thing. You must have soiled yourself too out. Matt, thank you very much, bud. Pleasure as ever.
Have a great week, lads. Go well.
Everyone has a really, really good week. Don't forget to go to Insights. All the selections will be up there. And look out for our day 3 and day 4 previews, which will be just as quick fire. Bye-bye.